What's up, guys? We're back for the Canadian MMA Podcast. I'm here, and Josh is here too. What's up, man? How you doing?
Good, man. How are you doing?
I'm here. We're surviving, man. It was a rough weekend, bro. Last week, to be honest, it was a rough weekend to be a combat sports fan because I feel like when BKFC is like your big event of the weekend, you're kind of fucked. And yes, man, it was something I don't think I've cared less for a UFC event in a while. Like, to be honest, and it's not like I'm the guy who cares the most, but that one, bro, was fucking like rough. Like,
Yeah, it was there wasn't a ton of like name value on it, and the fights like normally when a card is looking like that, the fights will really live up or like over deliver. But um, I was just looking forward to Jamey-Lyn Horth on it, and that was about it for that card. And uh, yeah, it wasn't one that I'm gonna remember for much other than that. Her making
yeah,
her
no,
debut.
that was the weird thing. The first fight and the last fight were like the two fights I really cared about, and like it's not even that the fights didn't deliver because it wasn't bad. There was some finishes and everything, but like, bro, it's just a whole bunch of nothing in the apex in front of nobody, and nobody cares. And whoever wins these fights, it kind of does not matter because the UFC is not involved. Like, basically nobody on that event, maybe except for Caio Borraio, but like, how involved are they? Like, are they in the Caio Borraio business? Like, do they think that's the future champ or whatever? I don't think so. They just think it's like a middleweight that exists, but that could exist a little more than the other ones that just exist. So it's just, man, like the UFC telling us that they don't care anymore. So why should we? But yeah, we should speak about Jamey-Lyn because that was good. She had a great performance. I was very satisfied because I was scared for this fight, man, on plenty occasions for plenty reasons. First off, I was scared that it was not gonna happen because Ailey Cohen like had a very bad track record of like being able to get into the cage even though she made weight and everything. Then I was scared because she badly missed weight, and Jamey-Lyn is more of a 125er than a 135er. So I was like, the fighter that's gonna want to put the pressure on and everything is gonna be the bigger fighter, and she missed weight, so she's gonna be even bigger. So that made me scared too. But like skill wise, it was very evident that Jamey-Lyn was way better than her. Her distance management was great. Her kicks were good, and the way that she didn't look like she was overpowered in the clinch, which is like I think what determined that fight in the end. Because in the second round, when Cohen started to put pressure on and everything, she was having like not major success, but more success than let's say in the first round. But Jamey-Lyn in the third was really able to yes, like win the clinch exchanges, make it worth it. Like the time in the clinch was not like some wasted time in this fight. Like the girls were trying stuff, were striking from the clinch, hitting knees, hitting elbows and stuff. And Jamey-Lyn really made that count. She had some good grappling moments, but also was able to, at some moments, just get back to distance where she was absolutely dominating. So I like the way that she was able to adjust in round three. It's a well-deserved win, and man, she every time she fights, like we know she's good, but like we always kind of look at her record like, ah, man, you don't have many fights. Like it's tough to come into the UFC at 5-0 only, even though for women it's more common than men. But she's really good, man, for a 5-0 fighter. Like you can see that she has the experience. She just never had the chance to fight as often as she would have liked to. So let's just hope that now she's in the UFC, she could fight a little more often, especially that she's probably going to go back to 125, which is the deepest women's weight class in the UFC. So I guess there's going to be some fights for her now.
Yeah, I'm really excited to see her get to fight more often, hopefully now. But it was a great performance from her. Like she looked super good on the feet, and Like I felt the same as you. Like I was pretty nervous when I saw that Cohen missed weight because she was already a 35er and Jamie's normally at 125. It seemed like, but the face-offs they looked pretty like similar. Like, I was pretty surprised just because I was expecting Cohen to be a bit bigger, but I thought they looked pretty similar in size and. Yeah, it was just a really good performance from Jamie. Like she looked really sharp on the feet and just like quite a big skill difference in the stand-up. The kicks looked really, really nice, and yeah, just excited to see what's next and to see her drop back down to 125 probably.
Yep, no, for sure. Really exciting. And fuck, I'm always happy when there's a new Canadian in the UFC, which is going to happen on June 9, but I think they kind of confirmed it, like on their story, BFL.
Did they?
Yeah.
I didn't see it.
I don't remember like word for word, but it was something like there's been like 9 BFL fighters that were signed to the UFC, and the 10th one is going to be signed on June 9th, or something like that.
Okay. Yeah, there's been some. Looks like there's some really exciting fights in the mix, and there's been 2 really good ones like announced already. So looks like that's going to be a good night and end with a big bang with someone getting signed. Hopefully, like I don't know from the stories on Instagram from Jamie and BFL, looks like some big things are in the works for that night.
Yeah, but I'm pretty sure that like it's the UFC that asked them, like Mitch said, to do an event on that night. So it's got to be something. But I think they pretty much confirmed it. So that's pretty exciting. I find it funny that the first fight that they announced is Mitch, when we just like spoke about that fight like openly on the podcast, even though it was not announced. And then but like. The thing is that we kind of know all the fights. Like if you look at like they're like not. It's not like sub. How could I say this? Like they're hinting at it in a way that like if you know, you kind of know.
If you go and you look at the fighters that are like in the preview videos, and you just think of the weight classes that they're in, there's only so many matchups that can be made with those fighters. So. Some of them have to be materialized. You just have to think.
Yeah, like Xavier Nash and Achilles. Like you kind of know, like Xavier Nash is the interim champ, Achilles is the champ. They kind of been hinting at an Achilles comeback for like a couple of times on their social media. So like you know that this fight is taking place. Same thing for Siri and Ali, you kind of know that this was taking place. Same thing for Dayan and Rodrigo. Even though Dayan was kind of hinting at something else, I don't know but it looks like it's this matchup finally, which is kind of the matchup that makes sense. Like seeing the way that Rodrigo did Said, I think he deserves it. So yeah, no, really exciting to see that they're going to be putting everybody on that card. The only thing that pains me is that Mateo's not going to be there. And like, I don't know if he's still under contract, to be honest.
Yeah, and the thing is, like, it just would have been kind of perfect if he was, because with the return of like Jamie, who's coming back to 145, it just would have been a pretty huge fight. Or I don't know.
It's if Mateo and Jamie were fighting, it's probably the fight that Dana White is looking at. Because, yeah, like Achilles and Xavier Nash is interesting. But, like, if you're Dana and you don't know any of these guys and you're only looking at their record and their previous wins and whatever, like, you're probably more excited for Jamie against Mateo than, let's say, fucking Siri and Ali. Even though you're pretty interested in Siri, like, I think the way that the records just fit between Mateo and fucking Jamie and their winning streak and everything, I think that would be the fight that Dana would be looking at the most if it was to take place. But yeah, no, I spoke with Mateo a bit, and like I don't know, it doesn't look like he's gonna be fighting on the BFL event. So I don't know, is this contract done or whatever? I couldn't tell. Could come and fight Alex Morgan. I'd like to see that shit. since Charles Jourdain is kind of claiming that Mateo is like the number one featherweight in Canada, not signed with the UFC and everything. And I know there's like some level of shade being thrown here because there's always been a like they don't like hate each other per se, but there's always been a little thing between Morgan and Jourdain. So I know there's a little shade being thrown there, but like if these two could fight, Mateo and Alex Morgan, there's kind of no doubt that the winner of that fight is number one.
Yeah, that's a fight that I've like thought about quite a bit, and just that would be insane. There's quite a few different 145ers in different promotions across Canada that would probably be happy to welcome Mateo in there and would all make great fights.
Yeah, would they be happy? I think people pick fights a lot, man. But yeah, let's not get into that because I could speak for a while about that one. Let's talk about fucking Thicc Boy Fight Club, man. You want to talk about that shit? Because yeah, it's something that happened, and I'm really happy it did. Because basically, like, Ontario does not have legal amateur MMA. And I don't know why they kind of respect that rule, which in Quebec is the same, but we just don't. Like, we just don't respect that rule. There's just fucking amateur shows in gyms and on Indian reservations. And, like, any fucking place we can book an amateur show, we just do it. But in Ontario, they don't. And often the people from Ontario come to Quebec to fight, which is pretty crazy because like some of these amateur events, they're like maybe 1 or 2 hours north of Montreal, and some of them come from like London and Windsor, and which is like fucking 10-12 hours driving basically just to get there and get an amateur fight you don't get paid for. And so that event basically took place at the is it the Battlegrounds? I'll get the exact name, man. The Battle Arts Academy in Mississauga, and it was an amateur pancration event which was sanctioned by the OGA, which is the Ontario Grappling Association, which is kind of the body that, like, when tournaments were illegal in Quebec and we needed to go to Ontario, we needed to sign up to the OGA, like a membership for a year. It was like $20 or something like that to be able to register for the tournament. So basically, I think it's the federation that like fucking looks over grappling and jiu-jitsu and whatever. So this federation sanctioned that event as an amateur pancration event. But basically, bro, it was a fucking amateur MMA event that took place in Mississauga, which is like just next to Toronto, which is so super central for like, and it's just good, man. There's so many good gyms in Ontario. There's so many good fighters in Ontario, and they're not able to get that amateur experience. So yeah, like the rule set is modified because it's pancration, but I think it's similar to what we have here in amateur MMA. So like no knees to the head, no elbows, of course. And there's like early stoppages are encouraged, basically. Like, you want to see an early stoppage. If a guy is stuck in a submission and is not tapping, like, you expect to see the ref just come in and stop the fight, even though the guy's not tapping, because like it's amateur, and you don't want a guy to fucking break his arm and not be able to work for a month because like he was stupid in an amateur fight. That basically does not count. So that was just cool that it happened, and there was a fucking shitload of fights, man, on that event, which Andy did an amazing job of posting and covering because there weren't any live streams. I think there's gonna be it's gonna be on Fight Network at some point. I don't know when. But yeah, Bojan told me that. So big shout outs to Bojan and all the team at Thicc Boy Fight Club. I think there was some pizza eating contest between fights and shit. So looked like a really fun event. I'd love to be to the next one if I can make it. But yeah, man, good stuff. And just like real quick, just shout out the guys that fought on the event, since we don't have much more to talk about. We have some stuff to talk about, but like not that much more. So yeah, Fucking Mike Adams, first fight of the evening. One, as you see, like they got, I think it's the same as in Quebec. They got like 8-ounce or 10-ounce MMA gloves, and they have shin pads, so you can get fucked up, but not too bad. Then we've got Victor Amorim, who won his fight by TKO second round. Sebastian Sanchez winning a decision. Nate Mason against Adam. I think I know that name, but yeah, Nate Mason won. Uros Bozic, Marcus Christie, Ongzen Bozic. That the brother of the other guy? Nick Aiden, Ailey Malcolm, Jonathan the Hebrew Hitman. That's an amazing nickname. Eled, Colin McLeod from NTT, as you can see. Fawaz Olayemi, Sean Shinobi McNabb. Then there was a no contest because of an eye poke, which is that guy who received the eye poke, as you see right there. Then Eddie Fan won a fight. Fucking Naj Parnian won another fight. Willow Morton, Andrei Krapachev. And then the main event, which I think was off at a point. I think there was some medical issue, like some medicals not submitted properly or whatever. So the main event was off at a point, but then got back on. It was LJ Simmons, which was supposed to fight. I don't know. I don't remember who. I think it maybe was Jared Dumont, but he was supposed to fight at BTC. It fell through. And Taj Gordon is another amateur fighter that we've seen around. So that was like a high-level amateur fight. And LJ Simmons was able to win the belt in round four. So yeah, man, that basically I'm just really happy that shit happened, man. Shout out to Boyan for, I don't want to say finding a loophole because that sounds illegal as fuck, but just finding a way to present some fucking amateur MMA in Ontario, like is the fucking biggest province in Canada, arguably the province with the most talent. Like every promotion in Canada has a fighter from Ontario who is a champion or close to. So they need more fights like this. So big shout outs to Thicc Boy for putting on that event.
Yeah, man, it's sick to see that some like amateur MMA taking place in Ontario, and yeah, it looked like there was a great turnout too, and just a great event. It looked like, so sick. Hopefully the next one's on Fight, so we can tune in and or you can go there live. But I'm looking forward to it.
Yep, and the thing is that like Boyan and all the guys from Thicc Boy, people kind of love them. Like they're cool people in general, and like people kind of love them. So I'm not surprised that that there was a good turnout and that people wanted to support them and everything. But I'm really happy that everything was able to take place without too many hiccups or everything. So that was pretty cool. Then let's talk about Fight League Atlantic quickly, because the Fight League Atlantic 9 event is taking place this Saturday, same day as the UFC. It's in Windsor, Nova Scotia, which is a place that sure does exist. And yeah, I'm pretty excited, to be honest, for the action. There's gonna be some good fights. I don't think we'll go through all of them, but there's a couple of fights I really wanna talk about today. First one of them is the fight for the amateur title. It's a guy that I've been talking about for a while, Luc de Sainte Croix. He's very good, man. He's very, very good, and he's gonna fight a guy that comes from Alberta, from Aether BJJ and AJ Market, who I absolutely don't know. So I really don't know what to expect in that matchup. But yeah, Luke is a guy that I've been really looking forward to see every time he fights. He's one of the best amateur fighters in Canada by far. And I think if he's able to win that belt, maybe he's going to be the next one to move up to to the pro level and to show us what he's able to do there. But I think he's one of the great prospects from the eastern provinces. Then we've got some pro action. Our boy Abdelaziz is going to be fighting his first pro fight against Nicky Heinrich, who has already fought once. He's 0-1, but fought Cody Kovanchek. So that's not a fight that most people are going to win. So we can't really hold that against him. I think it's a good opponent for Abdel for his pro debut. And Abdel has been another of the Eastern Canada amateur fighters that have been pretty exciting. So I'm really looking forward to that one. Then I've got my boy Irving Molina Kakarato, who is going to Eastern Canada, fucking Windsor, Nova Scotia. That's very far from where he lives, but he's there, and he's going to be fighting Cam Nelson, who's going to be in his second pro fight. He fought at the beginning of the year against the kickboxer guy, Braden Simon, and he won that fight. It's a step up in the sense that Irving has got way more fights than Cam Nelson and than anybody he's fought. The guy's an experienced pro fighter, but we really saw at last Samurai event that the guy has basically no ground game, even though he's very dangerous on the feet. So it's really going to be a question that if Cam Nelson is going to be able to take this fight to the ground or not. And like he trains at Renzo Gracie, Prince Edward Island. He's pretty much known for being a complete fighter, but a guy that loves to take it to the ground. So I think it's a matchup that can be won for Nelson here. And the main event is going to be, I don't want to see this. I want the poster. I think it's there. Yep, the main event of the evening, pro debut for Drake Farrell, the guy who is like Luke, like Abdel, one of the prospects that I've been waiting on for a while. And he won many submission kumites, won plenty amateur fights in very impressive fashion, including, was it last event or the one before? But he really fucked a guy up for that amateur belt. And now he's going to be fighting Matt McDonald, our favorite ginger from Island Kickboxing, who has already won pro fight. So very exciting event for Fight League Atlantic, who you see are beginning to move up these prospects, the guys that they've been building since the beginning, and now they're up to their 9th event, and they see these great amateur fighters starting to make the move up to the pro level. And it's just exciting, man. I can't wait to see what's next. Drake Farrell, man, and Luke, two of my favorite Eastern Canada fighters. So I'm not missing that event, that's for sure.
Yeah, I can't wait for it. It's like you said, like super excited to see these guys starting to make their pro debuts and or fight for amateur titles that they've been building up and have had like all their fights in the FLA. So it's awesome, and the fight looks like they're gonna have some like super exciting and entertaining fights, like always. Like no matter what the lineup is, FLA, their cards always deliver with entertainment.
Yep. I really like it, and I've said it plenty times, but it's one of the events that is cool to look at, to which it very much adds to the fun of being there. Some of these events are very tough to look at, and I'm really reminded of the fucking Big Fall event, which was so dark, man, so fucking dark in Chattanooga. But yeah, that's one thing that's going on this weekend. The other thing, which we could say is the big thing, is UFC 288, and we've got Charles Jourdain on the pay-per-view against Kron Gracie in one of the wildest fucking matchups you can book. To be honest, that's a style clash if you ever seen one, and like there's no way that there's not at least one or two very stupid things happening in that fight. And like I mean that in the best of ways.
Yeah, there's going to be a couple of things that happen that you're probably going to be like asking, like, what the fuck just happened? But it's, two like polar opposite styles matching up. And I don't know about two opposite because, I don't know, Kron he trains with the Diaz bros a little bit, but I think it's going to be, it should be a sick fight. What do you think about that?
I think it's a two true option fight. But like there's more than two things that can happen. But it's either Jourdain fucks him up pretty badly on the feet, and either like TKOs him or wins like by decision or whatever. Because Kron is tough. Like he's got that like that Diaz brother attitude of like I'm gonna get punched in my face for 15 minutes and I'm a like pretend like it really does not hurt and I really don't care about anything of that. So that's one option, and the other option is like, man, I like my boy Charles, but if he goes to the ground with Kron Gracie, he's gonna get turned into a pretzel, man. And like, there's one thing that I saw that I really don't like is like in the thing L'Arena did with him. He was speaking at a point, and he said like I really don't want to go on the ground, and then like he kind of stops and said, unless he really like gives me something like a guillotine, and I'm like, no, just like don't even try to grapple with Kron. Like, don't even try, because we just saw last week what happens when you're confident and you pull a guillotine on a world champion jiu-jitsu fighter. Like, he submits you 30 seconds later, because that's what happens. And Cody Brundage was super dumb in what he did by pulling the guillotine. And like, I never seen a guy escape from a choke just to mid escape say, oh, maybe I shouldn't do this, and go back to where he was and get choked by the choke he was initially getting choked by. That was funny as fuck, to be honest. That was very bad jiu-jitsu. But no, like there's no way that this fight is not crazy as fuck. I think it's a good pay-per-view opener, but like, I asked the question to Greg and Max, and I want to ask the same one to you. Let's say like you really like remove yourself from like the fact that Jourdain is Canadian and you really like him and like whatever the else. Is Jourdain Gracie the pay-per-view opener you want, or would you have preferred Dober for Vola?
Yeah, that's a tough one. Like, probably if I'm not a Canadian or anything, I'd probably say Dober for Vola, just because those guys have like Gracie hasn't been around for quite a while. But I don't know. It's a tough one because both of those fights are guaranteed fireworks, I'd say. So I don't think anyone could be mad that Jourdain and Gracie is over top, and the UFC does, it seems like, to sometimes put like a big spotlight fight on the last fight on the prelims to get people to entice them to want to buy the pay-per-view as well.
Yeah, but like, if the UFC made any sense, what they do is fucking put these two fights on the pay-per-view now that Mitchell got hurt, and just put Mitchell, put Movzar and the Mexican guy that they signed, or the Brazilian that trains in Mexico or whatever. Just put him on the prelims with Movzar.
Yeah, that would make a lot of sense, but I feel like Movzar has a huge following behind him, so they're probably getting like at least 50,000. Maybe that's pushing it a bit, but they're getting some pay-per-view buys out of him. Maybe.
You think?
Yeah, like I feel like
you've seen the Movzar Evloev army back there, because I don't think I've ever seen one person being a fan of that guy.
I posted that Hakeem Dawodu highlight video, and once a month, I swear, there's some Movzar fan commenting where show the Movzar fight. And Hakeem had his moments in that too.
Yeah, it's not the fight you want to show on the highlight of a guy.
Yeah, I can't watch his whole entire UFC career to make a little 1 minute highlight video too. But that's
to be honest, I like Movzar a lot as a fighter, but like, I don't think he's like a big draw or whatever. I don't know, man. I guess the UFC, like previously said, they don't really care anymore either way, like who's fighting where or whatever. But how do you feel about the main event, man?
I don't know. I'm not really a big fan of either of these guys. I feel like if you look at both of their legacies a certain way, they don't look all that amazing. I give credit to both of them. They're both amazing fighters, but if you I don't know. For it to be called like the fight for the GOAT of the division and everything, for me, Cruz is still the bantamweight GOAT for everything he did before the UFC. But I think it's going to be a great fight, and I'll be happy when it's on. But I'm not super excited for it, and I'm not going to think that either of these guys are the GOAT of the bantamweight division after this.
Like, it's weird how nobody's excited about that fight, but if you really look at it, like, skill for skill, it's probably one of the best fights that the UFC can put on, like, all divisions considered.
I don't know, man. Yeah, maybe.
Like, bro, Cejudo is, in my opinion, Cejudo is, like, if you put out your top 10 GOAT of all time, I think Cejudo needs to be in your top 10. I think it's tough to have an argument against that. Like, he beat Demetrius Johnson, he moved up, won the belt. He's a 2-division champ, and like, I think he might be the GOAT bantamweight. I think he's the GOAT bantamweight in like a Khabib sense. That, like, when you look at him, like, clearly he's probably better than every other fighter that fought in that division, but he kind of does not have the resume to back it up yet. For Aljamain, I just, like, I don't like any of these two guys either. Like, nobody likes these two guys, and I think that's why there's not much hype around this fight, even though I think there should be. If you're a pure MMA fight, if a fan, is probably going to be an amazing fight, to be honest. It's probably going to be super back and forth and competitive for 5 rounds, and the technical level that's going to be showed in each aspect of MMA is going to be incredible in that fight. But it's just, nobody's going to be happy for Sterling if he retains his belt. Nobody's going to be happy for Henry if he wins. Like, he basically dipped thinking that the UFC would give him more money, or that the fans would say, hey, we need Cejudo, so would pressure the UFC into giving him more money. And he basically got forgotten for 3 years, and nobody gives a fuck now that he's back. So it's kind of bad in that sense, but like, I feel the same way, so I can't blame anybody to feel like this. And I think my odd take on that event is that, yes, the new co-main event like adds name value to the card, but will probably be boring as fuck, man.
Yeah, if Bilal wins, it'll probably be really boring. If
it's going to be 5 rounds of that boring shit, because he's not knocking like Gilbert out. He's not submitting Gilbert. So if he wins, it's kind of going to be trash, man.
Yeah.
And I think like Gilbert is like 36 years old, and he might be too active. Like, there's a point where being too active is detrimental to you.
It's like we could have seen that with Andre Fiallo last year. Like, he was looking great up until he fought Jake Matthews, and it looked like it all fell apart for him there.
Yeah, exactly. So, man, I don't know. And the fact that, like, I don't want to put too much weight into like 3 weight cuts in that much time, and into all the guys coming from Ramadan. And because like Belal, like, yes, we look at Ramadan as something kind of fucked up in the sense of like difficult to accomplish, difficult to do. But this guy's been a Muslim all his life. Like, he's been doing Ramadan. So yes, of course, it's like something that's tough to do, but he's kind of used to it. So I don't want to put too much weight into like the Ramadan talk and all of that, and the fact that the fight has been booked on very short notice, has been put together like very quickly. But like, I don't know, I don't want to put too much weight into that. I'm not sure the style matchup is optimal here for a 5-round fight. I honestly, I just think Belal is like made to be a very, very good 5-round fighter, unfortunately. And I think it's going to be tough for Gilbert to win like enough rounds to win the fight and keep the fight like good.
Yeah, I think it's definitely going to be hard for Gilbert to win a decision against Belal, because his style's kind of perfect for winning those longer, drawn-out fights. And it'll just be interesting to see if he can like keep pushing, like keep his pace in the later rounds, with him taking it on short notice and asking for it to be at 180 or 175 pounds, but eventually agreeing for it to be 170.
Yeah. So that's about that with that pay-per-view. I don't think we really want to talk about Andrade and Jan Jourdain. There's not much to say about that. So
Um,
yeah, it's
I
gonna
think it's gonna
happen.
there's gonna be some it's gonna be a pretty fun pay-per-view entertainment wise with the fights. Like just looking up and down, there's some super entertaining fights like with Jourdain and then the Favola and Dober fight. Like you got Willie Cat on there, and like Claudio Ribeiro and Joseph Holmes will probably be a finish either way. But uh, yeah, not like huge superstars per se, or like big veterans or anything. But I think it could be pretty fun.
Everybody's waiting for the Parker Porter fight, man.
Yeah,
That's my highlight. Parker Porter and the two hottest women at 115, Marina Rodriguez and Virna Jandiroba.
yeah, you
That's
get
gonna
the.
be.
I wonder if Verna's gonna walk out to the Island Boys song again.
I wish he does, man.
Yeah, they're kind of doing Chaos Williams' opponent a little dirty. How you gonna give Chaos? How you gonna get Chaos in your debut?
Yeah, is it like the fight or was that short notice? I'll go check. Is
It's
that
been made. It's been made for a long time. That's the fight.
bro? What the fuck?
Yeah, going from fighting Randy Brown to a debuting guy, and it was a split decision too, so he could have gotten the win over Randy Brown. But
Bro, that guy got like as much canceled fight on his records as like actual fights. And
that
it's
was
like against all the guys that exist. Like Daniel Zaluber,
really?
fucking Esteban Ribovic, Sergio Giglio. Like all the fighters that exist, and then he's fighting some 1-5s and 3-1s and 8-4s, 7-4. 10-1 his last fight, that's pretty good, but yeah. Yeah. Some fights that are gonna happen, man. So did Dana leak the UFC 289 bout order, or like is that gonna change again since it always changes?
I feel like there'll be some like maybe a bit of changes, but that looks pretty legit, man. For what I don't know, it looks pretty legit for what you could imagine it being.
Yeah, it's really like catered to Canada, to be honest. Like I
Yeah,
don't think you have this event in Vegas. I don't think that this lineup makes much sense. But of course, the event being in Canada, you want to give the people like what they want to see, and of course, like I think it's fair to say that Malot and Barrio are probably the two Canadians fighters that like the people are the most hyped to see on that event. Yes, like there's Akeem, there's Gavin Tucker and Sabatini, which hasn't been announced yet.
Yeah,
But
let's hope Gavin Tucker can break Sabatini's streak against Canadians, because I'm not a big fan of that guy after the guys that he's beat.
Yeah, no, it's a tough one because I like his style a lot, but he's not. Yeah, he's not beating my. He's beating my guys. So yeah, but yeah, it makes sense for from a Canadian perspective. I think it makes sense to have it that way. Barrio Anders is the fight you want to open your pay-per-view. Like, to be honest, round 3 and Dacos could have been a good option for that, but there's too many chances that this fight becomes a pure shit show. Imavov and Curtis, like, there's no way in hell this fight is good. The Dawodu either is kind of a, like, I don't want to bash the guy, but like more technical based fighter. Like he's not gonna go out there and throw bungalows with Lucas Almeida. Like, he's gonna try to beat him in a more technical way. Then I think Ayman Zahabi and Auri Chileng would have been crazy as fuck for a pay-per-view opener, but they just don't have the name value. Like, people don't know Auri Chileng. Everybody should know him. He should be like one of the most recognized fighter because he's a legend, but he isn't. And weirdly enough, I think that the only fight on the old prelim card that could have been the pay-per-view opener is the first one. It's Miranda Maverick and Jasmine.
Yeah, man, it's really interesting to see that one down there. But yeah, I was really thinking that this one would be quite higher up, like maybe in like the official prelims section. But when I was like thinking about the bout order and who would like maybe make the main card a couple of weeks ago before the Malott fight was announced, like the Barrial fight was definitely standing out because if you look back on the previous UFC Canada like pay-per-views, he's a pretty regular customer over there. Or just on the cards and making his way on the main card. Like I think he fought Jocko on one of them, but yeah, it looks like I think the only two really things that would change if this was in Vegas would just be Malott and Barriault would probably be moved down below, like Imavov and Curtis, those two. But I think it's looking like it should be a pretty entertaining night. Got some good fights. There are quite a few good fights, in my opinion. I know a lot of people aren't too happy. I'm pretty salty that Pereira and Wonderboy has been canceled now. That sort of it's like the one that I'm just a huge Wonderboy fan, and I was looking forward to that walkout a lot. But it is what it is. The cards are always subject to change once you buy the tickets. So it's going to be my first UFC event I can attend. So I'm super excited for it, and it looks like there's going to be some good fights, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's a one-fight card.
No.
to be quite honest, it's a one-fight card. Like all the rest, like it's cool. It's Canadian fighters. We like them, but like in the grander scheme of things, none of that shit matters. Like I don't even think the main event matters. But yeah, I'm happy to see Malott up there. I still think it's a weird ass matchup, to be honest, but it's a good matchup for Mike. It's probably gonna be a fun fight, because Fujit tends to be a fun fighter too. So yeah, I think it's like, of course, it's weird when you're not from Canada and you look at the pay-per-view and you see Mike Malott against fucking Adam Fujit, and you're like, who the fuck are these two guys, man? But for us here, knowing that Mike is one of our brightest prospects, I'm really happy to see him on the main card. And Barrio has put in the work. It's like his 10th UFC fight, even more than that. So I think it's time for him to get these opportunities, especially that if there's one guy that's always been an amazing action fighter in the UFC, it's Marc-André Barrio. The guy does not give a fuck. It's always a big bruiser type of matchup. So against Yaboy, who he's been wanting to fight since he's been in TKO, it's going to be a big one for them. But I want to know your opinion on the main event, which has been changed to Irene Aldana against Amanda Nunes.
I am much, much, much happier that it got changed to this. Like, I don't know, nothing against Juliana Pena, maybe something against Juliana Pena, just for the way she's been thinking she deserves the trilogy fight. But I was always hoping that if we were going to get it, the Nunes fight here, it would be against Aldana, and I was pretty disappointed when the Pena one got announced, just because the way how lopsided that last fight was, like 50-44s. But I'm really excited for this one, and you never know what's going to happen. You've seen a Mexican win in the women's division when people thought she didn't have a chance earlier this year. So you never know, man. I think it'll be fun, and Aldana will oblige her on the feet.
Yeah. I think it's the fight that should have been booked since the beginning, to be honest. So it's kind of ironic, can I say this? Like the way that it just ends up being that the main event that we get in the end, and like it was always supposed to be that, in my opinion. But no, it's not the fight that makes me want to pay for tickets or like it's a Nunes fight. Yes, it's a cool matchup. But like with Nunes, it's just like kind of always depends on her. Like if she's been training and she's focused, she's gonna smoke Irene Aldana. But if she's been lacking and she's been like more worried about like having a second child and being a mom and being like anything else but an MMA fighter, yes, Irene is the kind of fighter that could surprise her for sure. And man, I'm happy that we don't get to see Nunes Pena right now, but how happier am I that we don't get to see Aldana and fucking Raquel Pennington fight again? That would just have been the worst worst thing in the universe, to be honest.
Well,
And
now
I
it's
think it
gonna be
was a main
now it's,
event, huh?
now it's gonna be a Holly Holm versus Raquel Pennington, I bet, or something like that.
Like the trilogy or something like that. Oh man, that's painful, man. But at least like we're not paying to see that fucking Peña Nunes shit. That was just bad. There's no way that this fight could like
I
matters,
I
to be
think that
honest.
the UFC probably thought that like Pena Nunes 3 would be better to headline a pay-per-view just because it's a trilogy fight, so there's more of a storyline and they can sell it to be a bigger fight or whatever they want it to be. But I'm much happier with this change.
I think I am too, to be honest, even though I don't look like I am at all. But yeah, no, it's gonna be cool. This whole weekend is gonna be pretty crazy with the BFL show the night before and everything. I'm looking forward, man, to just fucking after Samurai. I'm coming, bro. I just can't wait.
Yeah, I'm super excited for this weekend, man. It's gonna be pretty insane having BFL the night before UFC, and just yeah, I hope we get a press conference for UFC this time because it looks like this week we don't get one. And Jourdain was doing all this talk about what he was gonna be like on the press conference and to act natural, but yeah.
I don't want to say Charles dodged the bullet there, but
No.
like I love this guy to death, man. He's my friend and all, but fuck, I feel like the more you give him a mic, the more chance he's gonna say something that is kind of fucked up.
I feel like he could have gained like 200,000 fans and made a couple 100,000 enemies or
Yeah.
something like that.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, bro, he gets invited on the podcast with Pat Cote and Benoit Baudouin, which is like on RDS, which is basically like French TSN, which is the biggest like sports network in Quebec. I know in Canada, Sportsnet is kind of bigger than TSN, but in Quebec, it's like RDS and only RDS. There's pretty much nothing else. So he's on that, and like they start the interview by saying, "Hey, you're like a week and a half out of your fight. How excited are you?" And the only thing this motherfucker finds to say is, "I'm as excited as a drag queen going to an elementary school to tell stories," because it's kind of like a controversy in Quebec right now that there's elementary schools that like they hire like drag queens to go tell stories to the kid, basically the kids, which happened when we were young. They were just not drag queens, they were normal people. But like there's like a whole controversy regarding that, because of course like the super right-wing people, they're like, oh, they're gonna turn our children gay, what the fuck. And there's super left-wing people are like, oh, you're transphobes and fucking whatever the hell they call people that that they're having an opinion that's on trans issues. So yeah, it's kind of an old fucking shit show, and like he couldn't just like say, yeah, I'm excited. He had to like go out and fucking like, yeah, no, Charles is one hell of a guy, man.
Yeah, he's a funny guy, man. His Instagram stories are always something to keep an eye on if you want to get a laugh.
Yeah, he does not give a shit, man. Like he's gonna just talk shit back to a random dude with 3 followers. Like OG Dana White stuff, man. Like when Dana White back in 2012, 2013 was like heavily on Twitter, like answering to every bad comment, like, look at your profile picture, you fucking goof. Like you have 5 followers, you fucking goof. Like at everybody on Twitter, and like that was a good days when Dana cared, which does not happen anymore because he can't even be bothered to look like he cares.
No, just his fuck it Fridays. He spends all his energy getting ready for those, I think.
And he's just there. He's like, oh, we're gonna eat that shit, and he eats it. He's like, Yeah, it's good. And that's the fucking video. Like, huge effort, Dana, man. Let's go.
Yeah, almost as much effort as Dana put into the Ultimate Fighter Nations when he pulled up on the TV screen. Didn't even show up to Canada in person for all those guys.
Of course not, man. He was like, you fucking goose. Yeah. Like Kanye said, man, George Bush does not care about black people.
Sums it up perfectly, man.
Sums it up perfectly, man. So, yeah. Anything else you want to talk about, man?
No, I don't know, man. Nothing a ton. Just congrats to Jamie on getting that UFC win in her debut. I'm super happy for her in BC zone. So makes me that much more happier that BC's got another person up there. So yeah, exciting, and yeah, super excited for FLA 9 this weekend. Looks like it's going to be sick, and Charles Jourdain opening up that UFC 288 pay-per-view.
Yep. There's some shit to look forward to in the future, man. What's the next event after that? Do you know?
I'm not too sure. I was just thinking, but
is there something before Samurai?
I'm not too sure. But also, we got like XMMA popping on tomorrow in the day, so that should be sick too.
That's tomorrow during the day.
Yeah, I think it's maybe 3 p.m. Eastern.
Is that fucking free? Is it
on YouTube?
It's still under YouTube?
I hope so.
I hope so too, man.
It's crazy how many canceled fights there are on that. I think there's like 14 happening, and they've got like 26 canceled fights. I could be like talking out of my ass right now and completely wrong, but there's a crazy ratio because obviously the card was supposed to happen a month ago.
Yeah. So yeah, I think Samurai's the next one, to be honest, because there's an MFL event in Montreal that's amateur. And Samurai on the 26th. And then I think Absolute is the day after on the 27th. And then it goes to fucking BFL and the Durham Fight Series thing in Oshawa.
Yeah, that looks like it should be cool. First time. And the proceeds going to charity too. So that looks really interesting.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to see what's up with them. To be honest, I always like to see like promotions popping here and there, man. We need more fights for these people. So I'm trying to see. That's the one with. Yeah, there's good fights on that one, man. Mm-hmm. Like the Justin Conde against Silvestre Sanchez fight. That's really interesting because Conde just had an amazing performance against Sean Wallace. Mm-hmm. And Silvestre just absolutely fucked up Matt Smith. So that's pretty good. Michael Acifo, Sebastian Lopez, that's pretty good too. Matt Dawson, Brian Soto, that's going to be crazy because Matt is from there. Ryan Yapsam finally being back. And I think the most of the Justin Bruckman / Big Country guys, I think they're all set to be on that card. I think even Joe Elliott's going to be fighting. So, I think James Clark probably going to be on that card if they find somebody for him. Blake Oswald probably going to be on that one too. So, I'm really looking forward to this event. Yeah, beginning of June. I'm going to have to fucking get set to not miss these events, man. Because I'll just be arriving in Vancouver. I'll probably be all fucked up. And then there's going to be events at 3 p.m. in the afternoon.
Yeah, June looks like it's just going to be a super crazy month in general, super busy.
Yeah, but it's kind of always like that. Like all the promotions, they're not on the exact same timeline, but kind of. So it's kind of always like March, then end of May, June, then August, September, then November, December. It's kind of always that way. But yeah.
Yeah, we
I
got to
think
get
that's
them to start staggering a little bit, so we could just got consistent like every 2 weeks or so. Just got to show like that because it gets hard these weeks, or like that month of March was intense. MMA like
yeah.
every weekend, 2 a week. But yeah, it's fun though.
Yeah, no, to be honest, it's kind of the only events that I like to watch. Like sometimes when the UFC is on and it's a fucking trash event, I kind of feel like obligated to watch it, and it sucks, man. But these events, I'm just, even though it's like, let's say the Prospect event the other day, like there were some good fights, but some of the talent was like Matt Dawson and Benny Otoru and these guys that don't have winning records or anything like that. But it's like I know these guys, they're cool people, and I'm like more invested in seeing them fight than fucking Parker Porter or Jake Collier or whoever the guy he fought. And you
Yeah,
know,
no, 100%. Yeah, it's always a lot more interesting to see, someone make their debut that's from Canada against another guy from Canada than these bottom of the level guys in the UFC that we could care less where their career goes. So, yeah, I'm with you there.
yep, nah, it's a tough world, man. Tough world to be an MMA fan. They're gonna they're gonna drain every ounce of passion out of us, man. With these mid-ass events, I can't believe it, man. They just really don't care anymore, bro.
Yeah, just that last week's UFC one, like I really did not. I wasn't too excited for it. Besides Jamie, like I said, and then it somehow managed to make me like even more disappointed than I thought it would be after watching like some of those prelims because I was just so pumped up after Jamie's fight and so hyped she got the win. And then like just the quality of those fights until the main card were pretty terrible. But
Yeah. And like we're not done, man, because fuck the card that was set to be Aldana and Pennington. If you look at that, it's absolutely awful, man. Like your co-main is Edmund Shabazian and Anthony Hernandez. You got like Buckley and Fiallo, Diego Ferreira and Michael Johnson, Karolina Kovalkiewicz and Vanessa Demopoulos. And to be honest, that's about it. Like the rest of the card, fucking like Clayton Carpenter and Temba Gorimbo and Nick Fiore, Gilbert Urbina, Emily Ducote. Like, who the fuck are these people, man? And like, I think, is it June or July or later? I don't know, but like I saw it was on MMA Junkie that the UFC they applied for 5 dates in Vegas for the commission, basically for events. I think it was like August or something like that, like late July, beginning of August. And for the 5 dates, there was one at the T-Mobile Arena, which is going to be a pay-per-view, and the 4 other ones are going to be at the Apex. So basically, Dana's out there saying, "Oh no, we need to get back on the road," but like they're just not doing it. They're just not doing it, and it really became. I don't think you were listening back then, but when Fight Pass got created, UFC was on Fox, and there were some Fight Pass only events, like that weren't on Fox. That you needed to have Fight Pass to be able to see these events, and it really became like 3 different tier of events. Like there were the Fight Pass events, which were kind of trash. There were the fight nights on Fox Sports each weekend, which were like fight nights with like maybe a good main events or 3 or 4 fights that are interesting without being like major names or whatever. And then there were the pay-per-views that were like the biggest attractions. And when ESPN came in, that kind of stopped being the case. There were the pay-per-view, then the fight nights. But I think it's really getting back to this, and like the lower tier is basically the Apex fight nights, because at least when they go somewhere, like you look at the Jalton Almeida against Rosenstruck event, like it's not a crazy good main event or anything, but it's in front of a crowd. It's in Charlotte. And like the rest of the card is like Anthony Smith against Johnny Walker, Daniel Rodriguez against Ian Gary, Mackenzie Dern against Angela Hill, Tim Means, Alex Morono, Matt Brown, Court McGee. So like Cody Stamen against Douglas Silva de Andrade. So like it's not bad. It's names we know. It's like interesting matchups. So they're really like all the fight nights at the Apex is basically these are guys that are under contract with us and that we need to give fights to. And like these are the fights, and it's pure filler from top to bottom, man.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. They've got the 3 tiers to pay-per-view, and then like going to a city on the road show where they've got like a sick main event and quite a few decent names on there as well, and then they've got the Apex ones. So yeah, it's there's been all this talk, and it looked like we were kind of turning a corner where we were starting to get quite a few more shows, like how we just had Kansas City, and now there's the Charlotte one, but looks like they're getting back to being comfortable in the Apex, and it's kind of hard to blame them because like there's like no expenses doing a show there compared to having to go and rent out a whole arena and take care of all of that, and it's super complicated. But they are like losing out on gaining so many new fans going to all these places, but I don't know. There's 2 ways to look at it.
Yeah, I think they're so profitable that they're just like in the business of keeping their profits where they are and like increasing them, of course, but like I don't think they're pretty much stressed about gaining new fans or building new stars, or especially building new stars. I think that's the main thing of the new era, is that before they really wanted stars. Like they were looking for a Conor McGregor, a Ronda Rousey, and like when they were gone, we were looking for who's going to be the next Conor, who's going to be but like the way that it turns out with pretty much all these people is that they end up like kind of being at odds with the UFC over money. So now the UFC, now that they're profitable and they basically can sell you any type of bullshit under, because there are some fans that will refuse to watch a good PFL event or a good Bellator event, but that will tune into every fucking UFC event because like it's the UFC. There's nothing better than the UFC. So they can sell the 3 letters to pretty much a lot of people and be profitable only on that. So they don't really want to build up new stars because the bigger a guy gets, the more money you have to give him. And they really don't like giving money to people.
Yeah, that seems pretty true. Just like everything that happened with Francis too, and look where it's gotten him. It looks like he's just going to be going to the PFL now too. But yeah, it's definitely just all about the name more than the person now. The UFC holds a lot of the weight, and yeah, PFL has been putting on some. Yeah, sometimes you tune into these events this year. Like quite a few of these PFL events have been better than some of the UFC that's gone on. But hard to say the same with Bellator because they've got a lot of wrestlers that aren't too entertaining. But
yeah, the Bellator, their prelims are getting better, but for a long time, the Bellator prelims, it was like 2-0 fighters and like complete fucking filler that are not even Bellator guys. It's just guys that they sign for one fight because they're like, let's say we're in Uncasville, Connecticut, and they fucking like sign a couple of guys from that area to be on the prelims because they're gonna sell a couple tickets for the event. So yeah, it's tough, but no, there's no way that like the PFL card with Ali on it, there's no way that was not better than fucking fight night we just saw. Like remove the main event from that one. Like I think every PFL fight is maybe not entertaining, but like on paper better than what the UFC gave us.
yeah, and speaking of PFL, I'm really holding my breath here, or just been holding my breath for them to announce all these fights. It seems like they've announced all the other like champion or big stars, and they aren't fighting anyone special, and just really like the opposite of that, to be honest. And trying to get their guys like, because in a lot of these divisions of the PFL, it seems that everyone got a decision and win in the first fight, so it's pretty neck and neck between 4 or 5 guys up at the top to get into the playoffs. So they're really trying to get their stars a finish with the matchmaking, it looks like. So hopefully Ali can get a nice matchup too. And I don't know.
He's not getting that, man.
It's going to be Natan Schultz rematch, you think?
Yeah, or like it's not gonna be anything good, man. I don't expect them to give Ali a softball. They're giving Burgos one, that's for sure.
Yeah,
probably given like
they get Wilkinson, like Thiago Santos, Bubba Jenkins. I think even Brendan Loughnane, just like pretty like lackluster challenges. Like not hard to predict who you think's gonna win, and with the finish as well. But you never know, because with PFL normally it's in heavyweight, but there is some pretty crazy upsets in the regular season.
I hate them so much, man. I just like it's the least transparent way of just like, I don't want to say fixing fights, but like, yeah. That's the thing with like all the fight fixing allegations and MMA and boxing all the time and whatever. It's just super easy to like fix a fight without fixing it because you just the style matchup and everything. So yeah, PFL, they're very good at that. They know who to put against who to make it work. And yeah, of course, there's some upsets because it's MMA and like nothing is gonna happen as planned, never, basically. So of course it's gonna happen. But yeah, no, I don't like them, man. I don't like the way they operate at all.
Yeah, I think it's a really cool, like in theory, having this regular season for MMA and everything, but it needs quite a bit of improvement in the way that they actually carry things out.
No, for sure. The concept is super cool, you're right, but like we need to have some fucking rules in place that are gonna be respected and not like change according to who you'd like to be in front of who in the standings.
Yeah, and all these other sports, you have like tiebreaker scenarios, and there's like 4 or 5 different levels to it in case like if they fought the same opponent, or you could go to the scorecards for the judges, like how dominantly they won the fight, and that could be worth something, or even take into account the skill level of the opponent that they fought. If I don't know how they could do that, but or just and do some sort of lottery like other sports do with drafts at the very start of the season to determine the matchups at the start. I don't know. There's so much they can do to make it very transparent, but they don't want it that way. And why would they?
Yeah, no. It's MMA after all. We don't expect anything fair and transparent out here.
And it looks like they got Francis too. So that should be interesting.
Yeah. Nah, let's wait and see for that. But yeah, bro, let's get the fuck out of here before I continue being super negative for another hour.
Yeah, I don't think it was too bad. I don't know. I think you got more excited than I thought you could for 289 talking about those matchups.
Yeah, we kind of have to. We kind of have to. Like individually, is like I like the people involved in the matchup and all. It's just I have nothing against one individual matchup. It's like the combination of all these matchups is just fuck, man. Really expect me to pay big money to see this when I could find an illegal stream and watch it for free in Manish's apartment while eating some Indian food. Bro, you bet that's what I'm gonna do, man. I'm not gonna be out there paying for expensive beers and hot dogs.
Yeah, I'm gonna be there enjoying the fights for the first time at a UFC event and cheering on all the Canadians. So fair enough for you, bro. But you've been there, done that.
Yeah, no, the exception is that if the scalpers can't sell their tickets at $500 and they lower them, then maybe I might be there. But like I said, over 200, I'm not paying.
Yeah, fair enough.
That's my limit. I'll pay for if they book a good one in Toronto. I'll pay for that one. I'll be super happy too. But they just kind of shit the bed on that one. But yeah, let's stop being negative. It sucks to be negative. Let's get the fuck out of here, man. Have a good week. Thanks for watching.